Virgin girl begged her billionaire best friend for one night, and he couldn't stop himself. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. First, let's talk about our main character. The next morning, Emma woke up with a headache, her mind still reeling from the events of the previous night. She had done something so embarrassing, and she couldn't stop replaying the moment in her head. She had rushed out of that restaurant, not even bothering to check if Liam was still there. What was she thinking? Who does that? Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, and she groaned, hoping it wasn't another reminder of the mess she had made. She picked it up and saw a text message from Jenny. How was the date? Was he cute? Did you get to know him? Emma hesitated for a moment, then typed back quickly, it was a mix-up. I sat at the wrong table and had an entire conversation with someone who wasn't Kevin. I'm an idiot. She sent the message and threw the phone back on the bed, burying her face in her hands. Her life was so complicated, and it felt like she was constantly tripping over her own feet. As Emma got ready for work, she tried to shake off the embarrassment. It wasn't the end of the world, right? She had a job to do, and she needed to focus on that. But as she walked into the restaurant that afternoon, she couldn't help but feel the weight of the previous evening's awkwardness hanging over her. She set about her work, serving customers, cleaning tables, and trying to ignore the feeling that she was being watched. She was halfway through her shift when she noticed him. Liam. He was sitting at a table near the back, looking at a menu, but this time, he wasn't alone. There were two other people with him, both dressed sharply in suits. Emma's heart skipped a beat. Of all the places to run into him again, she froze for a moment, but then forced herself to move, to keep doing her job like nothing had happened. Table for three? She asked, approaching the table with a forced smile. Liam looked up at her, his expression unreadable. She could feel the tension between them, like something unsaid hung in the air. His eyes lingered on her for a moment before he nodded. Yeah, thanks. The words were simple, but they carried a weight she couldn't ignore. Emma set the menus down, her hands shaking slightly. Can I get you started with drinks? She asked, her voice more professional than she felt. Liam looked at her again, this time with a glimmer of recognition, though his expression remained neutral. Just water for now, he replied, and his colleagues followed suit. Emma turned to leave, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching her, that they were both pretending that nothing had happened, but she couldn't pretend, not anymore. As the hours passed, Emma found herself stealing glances at Liam from across the restaurant. She tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to him, to their awkward encounter, to how he had looked at her the night before. What was going on in his head? Did he think she was weird? Was he secretly judging her? She tried not to care, but she couldn't help it. The more she thought about him, the more it bothered her. And when the dinner rush was over, and the restaurant quieted down, Liam was still there. His colleagues had left, but he remained, tapping away at his phone, his back straight and confident, his presence commanding. Emma was wiping down a table nearby when she noticed him standing up and walking toward the door. She felt a strange pull, a desire to apologize, to explain herself, but she didn't know how. She couldn't just walk up to him and say, "Sorry for running out on you like that." It would be awkward, more awkward than it already was. But then something unexpected happened. Liam stopped just a few feet away from her, and their eyes met. He paused for a moment before speaking. "I owe you an apology," he said, his voice low but sincere. Emma blinked, caught off guard. "What?" she asked, her heart racing. He smiled slightly, a touch of humor in his eyes. "I should have told you who I was last night. I didn't mean to confuse you. I just didn't want to make things uncomfortable." Emma felt a strange warmth flood through her. He wasn't mad at her? In fact, he was apologizing? It didn't make sense. She had thought she was the one who needed to apologize, but here he was, taking the blame. She shook her head. No. It was my fault. she said quickly, trying to explain. I shouldn't have just left like that. I panicked. I'm sorry. Liam looked at her for a long moment, his gaze softening. It's all right, he said. I understand. It was a pretty awkward situation. There was a brief silence between them, and Emma could feel the air shifting, the tension slowly easing. She smiled, feeling the pressure lift from her shoulders. I guess we both got caught up in the confusion, she said, her voice lighter now. It happens. Liam nodded. Yeah, it does. There was a brief pause before he spoke again, his tone more serious. Look, I don't want this to be weird between us. I get it. But if you ever want to talk or… He hesitated for a moment, then added, maybe even just grab coffee sometime. I'd like that. Emma stared at him for a moment, her heart pounding. Was this really happening? Was he asking her out? Was this the same guy who had made her feel so out of place the night before? She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out at first. She couldn't believe it. He was offering to connect, to make things less awkward, to give her a second chance. I'd like that, she finally managed to say, a small smile breaking through. I'd really like that. Liam smiled, the expression genuine and warm. Good. I'll call you then. As he walked out of the restaurant, Emma stood there for a moment, processing what had just happened. Had she really just agreed to meet him again? It was crazy, but there was something about him, something that made her want to see where this could go. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't the end of their story. Maybe it was just the beginning. The following days passed in a blur for Emma, the memory of Liam's unexpected apology still fresh in her mind. She couldn't believe how quickly things had shifted. From the awkward encounter to this, well, almost normal conversation. She had expected him to brush it off, to treat her like she was invisible, but instead, he had done the opposite. And when he texted her later that week to grab coffee, she felt her heart race again, a mix of excitement and nerves flooding through her. They agreed to meet at a small cafe on the corner of her street. A quiet, unassuming place where she felt a little less out of place. She arrived early, glancing at the door every few seconds, waiting for him to walk in. When Liam finally did, he looked even better in casual clothes than he did in his suit, and Emma felt a familiar rush of nerves. His dark jeans and simple jacket gave him a relaxed, almost approachable look, and his smile as he spotted her made her stomach flip. Hey, Emma, he said, his voice warm and genuine as he walked over to the table. It's good to see you again. She smiled back, a little shy but equally eager. Yeah, good to see you too, she replied, her voice a little softer than she had intended. They both sat down, the quiet hum of the cafe around them, making the moment feel intimate despite the public setting. They started with small talk, the usual awkwardness of two people getting to know each other still lingering in the air. But as they spoke, Emma found herself relaxing. She liked how easy it was to talk to him, how comfortable she felt despite the nerves she had been carrying since their first meeting. It was like something shifted inside of her, and she began to realize that the connection between them was more than just a mistake at a restaurant. Liam was easy to be around. He listened without judgment, and when he spoke, it felt like his words mattered, like he was actually interested in what she had to say. At some point, the conversation turned a little more serious, as Liam asked her about her dreams, about her plans for the future. Emma hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should tell him the full truth. Her dreams felt too big, too far out of reach. I want to open my own art studio, she said slowly, as if testing the waters. I've always wanted to have a place where I can create and showcase my work. But you know, life keeps getting in the way. She looked down at her coffee, feeling a little embarrassed about admitting how little she had accomplished. I'm not sure how it will happen, but it's always been my goal. Oh, Liam nodded thoughtfully, and for a moment, he didn't say anything. Emma looked up to find him studying her, as though he were trying to figure something out. I think you can make it happen, he said softly, his voice reassuring. Sometimes the hardest part is just believing in yourself enough to take the first step. Emma blinked, taken aback by the sincerity in his words. She wasn't used to people offering such kind words, especially from someone like Liam. He had everything, while she was still struggling to make ends meet. They continued to talk, the conversation flowing easily now, and Emma found herself enjoying every moment. She learned more about Liam that afternoon than she had ever expected to. He wasn't just the successful CEO she had initially thought him to be. He was kind, thoughtful, and surprisingly down-to-earth. He talked about his work with such passion, not just for the business side of things, but for the people he helped through his foundation. He mentioned a charity event coming up that he was involved with, and as he spoke, Emma could see how much he cared about making a difference. It was something she admired, something she didn't expect from someone in his position. Before they knew it, the afternoon had passed, and they were both standing outside the cafe. The sun was beginning to set, casting a soft glow over the city. Emma felt a pang of disappointment. She hadn't realized how much time had passed. "Thanks for meeting me," Liam said, his smile genuine. "I had a really great time. I hope we can do it again soon." Emma nodded, smiling back. "I'd like that," she said, her voice feeling a little steadier now. "I'll see you around." As she walked home, Emma couldn't stop thinking about their conversation. It felt so easy, so right. She had always believed that people like Liam were out of her league, that she could never be part of that world. But in just a few hours, she had seen another side of him, one that made her feel like maybe, just maybe, she could be more than just the waitress with big dreams. And as she reached her apartment, she couldn't help but smile, wondering where this unexpected connection would take her. The following week, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed between her and Liam. Their coffee date had left her with a sense of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. The way he had looked at her, the way he had listened so intently, it was different from what she was used to. She couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him, and as much as she tried to stay focused on her own life, she found herself thinking about him more often than she expected. She tried not to let her thoughts wander too much, especially since she knew nothing could come of it. He was a billionaire, and she was just a waitress with big dreams but little to show for it. One evening, as Emma was closing up the restaurant, her phone buzzed. She looked at it, surprised to see a text from Liam. "Hey, Emma, how about another coffee this weekend? I'd love to catch up more." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected to hear from him again so soon. After a brief moment of hesitation, she typed back, "Sure, I'd love that." She couldn't deny the excitement bubbling inside her, but at the same time she tried to remind herself to keep it in check. He was just being friendly, right? It wasn't like he was going to fall for her. She couldn't let herself get carried away. Saturday came, and they met at the same little cafe where they had first met. This time, however, Emma felt a bit more at ease. She had worn a simple dress, something she felt comfortable in, and she walked into the cafe with a quiet sense of anticipation. Liam was already there, sitting at their usual spot by the window, a soft smile on his face as he looked up and saw her approaching. "Hey, Emma, you look great," he said warmly, standing up to greet her. Emma blushed slightly, not expecting the compliment. "Thanks, you do too." She smiled, a little flustered, as they sat down. For a moment, there was a brief silence, both of them unsure of how to begin. But then Liam broke the tension. "So, how's the art studio dream coming along?" Liam asked, his eyes genuinely interested. Emma's face lit up at the question. She hadn't really spoken about her goals to anyone outside of her close friends. "Actually, I've been looking into some places," she said, her voice a little more confident now. "I've found a few spots that might be perfect, but it's just so expensive. I'm still figuring out how to make it happen." Liam nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I think you're on the right track. You've got the passion, and that's half the battle. If you ever need advice or help, just let me know." Emma felt a warmth spread through her at his words. It wasn't just the advice, it was the way he genuinely cared. It was the way he always made her feel like she wasn't just another person to him. The conversation shifted after that, both of them talking more openly. Emma found herself laughing at his jokes, feeling more relaxed than she had before. They talked about everything, family, work, life, and with each passing minute, Emma felt herself growing more comfortable with him. She couldn't believe how easy it was to be around him, how normal things felt. It wasn't like the world of luxury and wealth she imagined his life to be. Liam wasn't a stranger. He was just a person, and he made her feel like she mattered, like she could actually accomplish something. The more they talked, the more Emma realized that maybe her feelings for him weren't just about his wealth or his position in life. She found herself drawn to the kindness in his eyes, to the sincerity in his words. As the afternoon passed, Liam mentioned a charity event he was hosting the following weekend. "I'd love for you to come," he said, almost casually, as if it was no big deal. "It's for the foundation I work with. It's just a small gathering, but it's for a good cause." Emma was surprised by the invitation. She wasn't sure she fit in at such an event, but she didn't want to say no either. "I'd love to," she said before she could second-guess herself. "It sounds like a great cause." Liam smiled, clearly pleased. "Great, I'll send you the details. I think you'll enjoy it. Plus, it's a good chance to meet some people who might be able to help you with your studio." Emma agreed, though she wasn't entirely sure what to expect. She didn't know much about charity events or the world of high society. But there was something about Liam's invitation that made her want to give it a try. She wanted to see more of his world, to understand him better. As they finished their coffee, Liam stood up, his smile warm, as he gave her a light hug. "I'll see you at the event then," he said. Emma nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. As she walked home that evening, her mind raced. What was happening between them? Was this just a friendly connection? Or was there something more? She didn't know the answer, but for the first time in a long time, she was looking forward to finding out. The night of the charity event arrived sooner than Emma had expected, and she couldn't shake the nervous energy coursing through her. She had spent the afternoon choosing an outfit, something simple yet elegant, a little more polished than what she was used to. She had never been to anything like this before, and the idea of being surrounded by high society made her stomach flutter with uncertainty. But she had agreed to go, and she was determined to make the best of it. As she arrived at the event, the grand venue took her breath away. It was a sleek, modern building, with soft lighting and the hum of laughter and clinking glasses filling the air. The guests were dressed to the nines, every woman in stunning gowns and every man in sharp suits. She felt out of place just stepping through the door, but she told herself to stay calm and just enjoy the evening. When Emma walked in, she immediately spotted Liam across the room, talking to a group of people. He looked effortlessly charismatic in his tailored suit, his easy smile lighting up the room. As soon as he saw her, he excused himself and made his way over, his presence making her feel like the room's attention shifted just for a moment. "Hey, Emma," he said warmly, his voice cutting through the buzz of the crowd. "You look incredible." Emma smiled, a little flustered, but grateful for the compliment. "Thanks, Liam. This place is amazing," she said, taking in the grand setting around her. Liam chuckled, nodding. "Yeah, it's definitely not my usual scene either, but it's for a good cause." He gestured for her to follow him, and they made their way to a quieter part of the venue, away from the noise of the crowd. They spent the next hour chatting with a few people Liam introduced her to, but Emma couldn't help but feel overwhelmed by the lavish surroundings. It wasn't that she felt like she didn't belong. She knew she had a place here as Liam's guest, but it was hard to ignore the stark contrast between the polished, wealth-filled world around her and the simpler life she had led. Liam, however, seemed completely at ease, making everyone laugh with his witty remarks and charm. It was clear that people respected him, but there was a softness in his eyes when he looked at her, as though he genuinely wanted her to feel comfortable. After some time, the formal speeches began, and Emma stood by Liam as they listened to the speakers talk about the charity's work. She could see the sincerity in Liam's eyes as he nodded, showing his full attention. He was so different from the man she had imagined, so much more than just a wealthy CEO. His commitment to helping others, his genuine care for the cause, made her respect him even more. She found herself watching him closely, the way he interacted with people, how naturally he was able to lead and yet remain humble. It was a side of him she hadn't expected, and it made her feel even more drawn to him. As the event went on, Liam's colleagues approached them, and Emma was introduced to a few of them. They were friendly, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider in their world. They talked about business, and Emma tried to keep up, but it was clear that this wasn't her world. Still, Liam stayed by her side, never leaving her alone for long. When the speeches were over and the evening started winding down, Liam turned to her with a smile. "I'm really glad you came tonight," he said, his voice sincere. "It's good to have you here." Emma smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through her. Thanks for inviting me. It's been an eye-opening experience, she said softly. They made their way toward the exit together, the night air cool against their skin. As they stepped outside, Liam turned to her. So, what did you think? Not too overwhelming, I hope? He asked with a teasing smile. Emma laughed, shaking her head. No, it wasn't too bad. Just a little different from what I'm used to, she said honestly. Liam nodded, his smile widening. I get that, but I'm glad you came. There was a pause as they both stood there for a moment, the silence comfortable, not awkward. Then, almost as if on instinct, Liam reached out and gently took her hand in his. Emma looked up at him, surprised, but the gesture felt so natural. She didn't pull away. Instead, she let the warmth of his hand in hers comfort her, reminding her that despite the world of difference between them, there was something real between them, something genuine that she hadn't expected. Let's grab a drink sometime, Liam said, his tone soft and inviting. Maybe not in a fancy place like this, but somewhere more down to earth? Emma smiled, feeling the tension in her chest relax. I'd like that, she said quietly. Liam smiled back, his expression tender. Good. I'll make sure to pick the spot. As they walked to their cars, Emma couldn't help but feel like she was at the beginning of something she hadn't seen coming. Maybe it was just the beginning of her story, or maybe it was something more. Either way, she was ready to see where it would lead. The next few weeks passed in a blur for Emma. She continued working her shifts at the restaurant, but her mind was never far from Liam. Every time she had a quiet moment, her thoughts wandered to their last conversation, the way his hand had brushed against hers, how easy it felt to be around him. They had met a few more times, mostly for casual coffee or walks in the park, and every time they did, Emma found herself liking him more. But she couldn't shake the nagging doubt in the back of her mind. What was this? Was it just a fling, or was something more developing between them? She knew he was wealthy, successful, and far removed from her world. He had a life she could never truly understand, no matter how many coffee dates they went on. And yet, there was something undeniable between them, a connection that felt like it could turn into something real. One evening, after a long shift, Emma returned home to find a message from Liam waiting on her phone. I've been thinking about you, the text read. How about a real date this weekend? Just you and me, no distractions. I'll pick you up. Emma's heart raced as she read the words. A real date? Was he serious? She stared at the screen for a long moment, her mind running wild. Part of her wanted to say yes right away, but another part of her hesitated. This was a big step. A real date meant something more than just casual coffee or a walk in the park. It meant they were taking things to another level, and Emma wasn't sure if she was ready for that. But then again, when would she be ready? Was she going to let her insecurities get in the way of something that might be real? After a few moments of deliberation, she typed back, I'd like that. I'll be ready. She hit send and placed the phone down, her stomach fluttering with excitement and nerves. It wasn't like her to second-guess things. But with Liam, everything felt different. She had never been in a relationship with someone who seemed so out of her league. But when she thought about him, she realized that it wasn't about wealth or status. It was about the way he made her feel like she mattered, like she was seen. And maybe that was enough. Saturday evening arrived, and Emma found herself standing in front of her mirror, trying to decide what to wear. It wasn't a fancy restaurant or a gala like the last time they had spent time together, but she still wanted to look nice. She settled on a simple, elegant dress that made her feel good but wasn't too over the top. She wasn't trying to impress anyone, she was just trying to be herself, and if Liam liked that, then maybe it was enough. The doorbell rang just as she finished adjusting her hair, and she took a deep breath before opening it. There he was, standing in front of her with a smile that made her heart skip a beat. Liam looked effortlessly handsome, dressed in a black shirt and dark jeans, his eyes warm as he looked her over. Wow, he said, his smile widening. You look incredible. Emma felt a blush creep up her neck, but she smiled back, feeling a little more at ease. Thanks. You look pretty good yourself. Liam chuckled, stepping forward. Shall we go? He asked, holding out his arm. Emma nodded, feeling a sense of calm wash over her as she took his arm, stepping out into the cool night air. They drove to a cozy little Italian restaurant on the outskirts of the city, one that Emma had never been to before. It wasn't the kind of place that screamed luxury, but it had a charm that made her feel comfortable and welcome. As they sat down and started looking over the menu, Liam turned to her with a smile. "I'm glad we're doing this," he said, his voice sincere. "I've been wanting to spend more time with you, just the two of us." Emma felt her heart flutter. It wasn't often that she heard someone say something like that to her, and hearing it from Liam made her feel special in a way she hadn't expected. As the evening went on, they talked about everything and nothing. Emma found herself laughing more than she had in a while, the tension she had felt at the beginning of their relationship starting to fade away. Liam was easy to talk to, and the connection between them felt stronger with every passing minute. For the first time, Emma felt like she could really be herself, no pretensions, no walls between them. She was just Emma, and he was just Liam, and that was enough. After dinner, they took a walk through the quiet streets, the cool night air filling their lungs as they talked about their dreams, their fears, and everything in between. For Emma, it felt like the first time in a long while that she had someone who genuinely wanted to understand her. And as they reached the end of the block, Liam turned to her with a soft smile. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice low. "I really like you, Emma. And I don't want this to just be some casual thing. I want to see where this goes. If you're open to it, I'd love to take things to the next level." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say that, but hearing it felt right. She smiled, her eyes meeting his. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice steady but filled with warmth. Liam's smile widened, and he took her hand gently in his. "I'm glad," he said softly. "Let's see where this takes us." As they stood there, hand in hand, Emma realized that she wasn't just dreaming anymore. This was real, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The weeks that followed were nothing short of a whirlwind for Emma. The connection between her and Liam grew stronger with each passing day, and she found herself falling deeper than she had ever expected. They spent more time together, meeting for dinner, going on spontaneous walks, and talking about everything under the sundae. Liam's warmth and genuine nature made her feel seen, understood, and cared for, something she had never quite experienced before. And as much as she tried to keep her guard up, to remind herself of the differences between them, the way Liam made her feel began to chip away at her reservations. It wasn't just about his wealth or success. It was the way he made her laugh, the way he listened without judgment, the way he always made her feel comfortable in her own skin. It felt real, and it felt right. But despite the growing closeness between them, there was still something Emma couldn't shake. She hadn't fully let herself believe that this was more than just a fleeting moment. Liam had everything: wealth, power, connections, things Emma could never hope to have. She worried that, deep down, he would grow tired of her simple life and move on. What did she really have to offer? She was still working at the restaurant, still dreaming of an art studio that felt like a far-off fantasy. It wasn't like she could offer him the same things he could offer her. One evening, as they were walking through the park, Emma couldn't hold it in any longer. She stopped walking, her heart heavy with the weight of her thoughts. Liam, noticing her sudden stillness, stopped beside her and turned to face her. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice soft with concern. Emma hesitated, unsure of how to put her feelings into words. I don't know if I belong in your world, Liam," she said, her voice shaky. "You have everything: your business, your success, your connections, and I'm just me. I'm just a waitress with a dream that feels so far away." Oh, Liam's expression softened, and he stepped closer to her, his eyes filled with understanding. "Emma," he said gently, "you don't have to prove anything to me. I don't care about your job or what you have or don't have. What I care about is you. I care about how you make me feel, about the way you light up when you talk about your dreams, about the way you've made my life better just by being in it. None of that other stuff matters to me." Ugh. Emma looked up at him, her eyes filled with uncertainty. "But what about all the things we don't have in common? I don't know if I can live in your world. I don't know if I can ever be the person you deserve," she said, her voice trembling. Liam reached out, gently taking her hand in his, and gave it a reassuring squeeze. "The only thing that matters is how we make each other feel, Emma. We have something real here. That's all I need. I don't want anything else. I just want you. Her breath caught in her throat at his words, and for a moment, everything around them seemed to fade away. The doubts and insecurities that had been clouding her mind lifted, replaced by a quiet sense of certainty. Liam was right. It wasn't about their differences. It wasn't about their worlds being so different. It was about them, about the connection they shared, about the way they made each other feel, about how their hearts had found a way to meet in the middle despite everything. Emma smiled softly, her heart swelling with emotion. I'm scared, Liam, she whispered, but I want this. I want us. Liam smiled back, his eyes soft and full of affection. I want us too, Emma, and I'm not going anywhere. In that moment, Emma realized that it didn't matter what the future held. They would figure it out together. The doubts, the insecurities, the fears, those could wait. Right now, they had something worth holding on to, something real. As they walked hand in hand through the park, Emma felt a sense of peace settle over her. She didn't know what the future would bring, but for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face it with Liam by her side. And for now, that was enough. As the months went by, Emma found herself living a life she never thought possible. What started as a simple connection with Liam had blossomed into something deeper, something more meaningful. They spent nearly every weekend together, exploring new places, sharing meals, and talking about their hopes and fears. Despite their differences, their bond grew stronger. Liam's world was still one she had trouble navigating: his business meetings, his lavish parties, the high society events that came with his position, but he always made her feel like she belonged. When they were together, it wasn't about wealth or status. It was about the way he looked at her, the way his hand felt in hers, the way his smile made her forget all her doubts. One evening, as they were sitting on the rooftop of Liam's apartment, watching the sun set over the city, Emma realized how far she had come. She had once thought she was out of place in his world, but now it felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. Liam had made her feel like more than just the girl from a small town, more than just a waitress with big dreams. He made her feel like she mattered, like she could achieve anything. And in that moment, as she watched him glance at her with that familiar warmth in his eyes, she knew she had fallen for him completely. What are you thinking about? Liam asked, his voice soft as he broke the silence. Emma turned to him, smiling gently. I was just thinking about how lucky I am, she said, her voice filled with sincerity. I never imagined I'd be here, in this place, with you. I'm just grateful. Liam's smile grew wider, and he took her hand, squeezing it gently. I'm the lucky one, Emma. I never thought I'd meet someone like you. Someone who makes me feel real, you know? His words touched her deeply, and for a moment they both just sat there, letting the peaceful silence settle around them. But even as she felt her heart swell with love, Emma couldn't help but wonder about the future. She had come so far, but there was still so much uncertainty ahead. What did this mean for her? What did it mean for them? Would their different worlds ever truly blend? And as much as she tried to ignore the thought, she couldn't shake the fear that eventually Liam would realize that their differences were too great to overcome. Liam seemed to sense her unease. Hey, he said gently, turning to face her more directly. You're thinking too much. Emma looked up at him, her brow furrowed. I can't help it, she admitted. I don't want things to change. I don't want you to change your mind. Liam shook his head, his expression serious but warm. Emma, I'm not going anywhere. I don't care about what's in the past or where we come from. I care about where we're going together. We'll figure this out, just like we always have. He paused for a moment before adding, You're not just a waitress, you're a dreamer. And that's what I love about you. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her as Liam's words sank in. She had always feared that he might one day see her as something less, something not quite good enough. But in that moment, she realized that Liam didn't see her that way at all. He saw her for who she was, someone with ambition, someone with a heart full of dreams, and that was enough for him. She smiled softly, her eyes glistening with emotion. I believe in us, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. And I believe in you. The next few weeks seemed to fly by as Emma and Liam continued to build their life together. They faced challenges. Of course, Emma still struggled with self-doubt at times, and Liam's demanding schedule often left little room for personal time, but they always found a way to support each other. When things got tough, they leaned on one another, finding comfort in their shared moments and the quiet, steady understanding that had grown between them. And slowly but surely, Emma began to realize that the fear she had once felt about their differences was starting to fade. Their connection, their love, was strong enough to bridge any gap. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, Liam turned to her with a look of determination in his eyes. "Emma," he said softly, "I've been thinking about something. I know we've talked about your dreams before, and I want to help you make them a reality. I think it's time you had your own space, your own studio. I want to help you get there." Emma looked at him, shocked by his words. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I want to invest in your future, Emma," Liam said, his voice firm but filled with warmth. "I believe in you, and I want to see you succeed. You're not just my partner, you're my equal." Emma's heart pounded in her chest as she looked at him, overwhelmed by his gesture. She had always dreamed of opening her own art studio, but the idea of actually making it happen had always seemed like an impossible dream. And yet, here was Liam, offering to help her make it a reality. She couldn't believe it. "Liam, I don't even know what to say," she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. "You're already giving me more than I ever expected." Liam smiled and pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. "You don't need to say anything," he murmured. "I'm just doing what feels right. I want you to have everything you deserve, Emma. I want to see you shine." In that moment, as Emma sat there in Liam's arms, she knew that this wasn't just a dream, it was her reality. And no matter where life took them next, she was ready to face it by his side. As the months passed, Emma's dream of opening her own art studio slowly became a reality. With Liam's support, she found the perfect space, a small, charming studio in the heart of the city. It wasn't grand, but it was hers. It was everything she had hoped for and more. Liam helped her navigate the practical aspects of it, getting the right permits, setting up the studio, and even helping her with a few connections that she never would have had on her own. But more than that, he was her biggest cheerleader. He believed in her talent, in her vision, and in her. And that belief made all the difference. Emma found herself growing more confident in her work, more driven to succeed. The studio quickly became her sanctuary, a place where she could pour her heart into her art, where she felt at peace with herself and her future. Through it all, Emma never stopped being amazed at how far she had come. She had once believed that her life was meant to be ordinary, that she would always be stuck in the same cycle of waiting tables and dreaming of something more. But now, with the studio thriving and her relationship with Liam stronger than ever, she realized that ordinary was just a word. Life wasn't about where you started, it was about how you moved forward, how you embraced the unexpected, and how you never gave up on your dreams. And Emma had learned to do just that. One evening, as she and Liam were having dinner at their favorite restaurant, he leaned across the table, a serious look in his eyes. "Emma, there's something I've been meaning to ask you," he said, his voice a little lower than usual. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't sure if it was the way he was looking at her or the tone of his voice. But she had a feeling this was a moment she wouldn't forget. "What is it?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Liam smiled, his gaze softening. "I know we've been through a lot together, and I know we've built something really special. But there's one more thing I want to do. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Emma. Will you marry me?" The world seemed to stop for a moment as Emma looked at Liam, her breath catching in her throat. She had never imagined this moment would come so soon. But standing there, looking at him, she realized that there was no one else she could imagine spending her life with. She had built her dreams from the ground up, and now she had someone who wanted to be by her side, supporting her every step of the way. With tears in her eyes, she nodded, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, yes, Liam, I will marry you." Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his eyes shining with happiness. "You make me the happiest man in the world," he said softly, squeezing her hand. "I promise I will always be here for you, through everything." And in that moment, Emma knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, no matter what obstacles they would face them together. They had built something beautiful, something that went beyond wealth or status or dreams. They had built a life together, a life filled with love, support, and the shared belief that anything was possible as long as they had each other. As they walked out of the restaurant, hand in hand, Emma looked up at Liam, her heart full of gratitude and hope for the future. She wasn't just living a dream anymore. She was living a life she had chosen, with the person who had made her believe in herself again. And for the first time, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. In this inspiring tale of love, dreams, and unexpected turns, Emma's journey from a struggling waitress to an ambitious artist and entrepreneur unfolds. As she navigates her relationship with Liam, a successful billionaire, Emma realizes that love transcends wealth and status. Their connection grows deeper as they support each other's dreams, and Emma's art studio begins to thrive. Along the way, she faces self-doubt. But with Liam's unwavering belief in her, she learns to embrace her potential. This story, filled with heartwarming moments and unexpected surprises, mirrors the essence of many millionaire stories where love, generosity, and personal growth intersect. As their relationship blossoms, Emma and Liam's bond strengthens, proving that true love is not just about material wealth, but about the emotional connection that brings two people together. With challenges and growth along the way, this journey is a perfect example of the power of love found in millionaire stories, where success and happiness come in unexpected ways. In the end, Emma's fears are put to rest, and she finds herself not only in a successful relationship but also in a position to achieve her dreams, just like many other powerful millionaire stories that show how dreams can come true with the right support. As they continue their journey together, Emma realizes that this is only the beginning, and the future is bright with possibilities, much like the heartfelt endings of so many millionaire stories.